Okay, hello friends. So we have one more session with Nilaap now. It's a continuation to our previous session. Recently, it's very difficult to get hold to Nilaap, but I'm just for let's say how many minutes I don't know. So Nilaap, welcome one more time, and yeah, if you allow, we can just straight away go to our Q&A session.
Yeah, but that's not true, friends. Me and Sunan talks every day. We talk every day. We chat every day. Okay, that he's wrong in one angle that it is very difficult to catch hold of Nilaap. It's not the right thing.
On
I'm
video, I
always
would say
there.
on
I'm always
video,
there for my friends. Okay,
on
and he
video.
knows that. Okay, yes. I also confess that for sessions it's getting little difficult for me because I was just busy in my one of my say programs in IIM Indore. I've just got the degree, so that is why. Otherwise, I'm completely available, and I'm again thankful to Sunan that I'm getting plenty of calls, plenty of LinkedIn messages. Even people are directly asking me questions that, hey, what is this? What is this answer? No, what is the question? Sorry, what is the answer to this question? So it all happened because of Sunan, who had almost made me famous. Okay, so thanks to you. Okay, so thanks again and namaskar to all. Uh, so let us see what is the
What?
topic today
Yeah.
and what exactly I can contribute.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, this is again a challenging situation when team is not able to reach out to some kind of consensus when they are doing the planning poker. Everyone is aware about planning poker thing, but we might have seen that couple of times team have divided on thoughts. And I think the reason is somewhere down the line how the story has been written, the way we have done the refinement and all those things, which obviously Nilap is going to tell us in detail, right? So yeah, Nilap, this is for you. And yeah, please share your thought on this.
Okay, so thanks again for bringing this question to the forum. I think we did not get the opportunity to talk about planning poker. So before I go and explain about this particular question, I would request to all my fellow Scrum Master friends to buy a book by Mike Cohen named Agile Estimation and Planning. Okay, so I had bought it long back, and still now I follow it. Still now I go through it. So Mike has written that book with all kind of scientific explanation, with all kind of uh, detailed say ideas, mathematical and scientific ideas towards agile estimation and planning. You'll get knowledge, plenty of knowledge about story points, story point allocation and planning poker. So yeah, so if possible, please buy it and follow it, refer it when time comes. Because all my knowledge about agile estimation planning, release planning, sprint planning, I have gathered from that book. And of course, you have your own practical experience.
I will put the link in the description for that book. Yeah, Nilap.
Yeah, yeah. It is Agile Estimation Planning by Mike Cohen. So now this question. Okay, I'm sorry, the video is gone. Okay. That if you are doing planning poker for estimation and the team cannot reach consensus, what will you do? So now, if this question is asked to you in this particular manner, then you just humbly ask that consensus on what? Because the question says that if the team cannot reach consensus, consensus on what? So what I assume here, but everybody knows that consensus on story point estimation, which they are not able to reach. Okay. So but you get it, clarified from the interviewer, that consensus on what. So I've got this question from many of my fellow friends and my fellow Scrum Master friends, my colleagues. I think uh, this has also happened many a times. So here comes the overall practical knowledge which you have gathered. As I have said in all my previous sessions, that answers to questions, Scrum Master interview questions, comes only from experience. Okay, because 90% of the questions are scenario based. Okay, so now, as because we are collecting data, we know experience now, it is the era of artificial intelligence, it is the era of data analysis. So we know these kind of scenarios are there, and we collect those data, and out of those data, we give you answers or ready-made answers. But you will be this is just a disclaimer, not a disclaimer, just an advice that if you follow our sessions and just say what should I say, means just narrate it or just recite it the way we are telling, you will be caught. If you don't have the experience, then think of that. Look at into the session. Think of that. That okay, I have not seen, because necessarily not that everyone out there has got all kind of scenarios. Okay, so experience is because we have seen people, we have seen events, we have seen projects. So a new scrum master who has just part of some 2 or 3 projects will definitely not having all kind of scenarios. So but still, if you are following our sessions, just don't uh, you know uh, mug it up and go for interviews. Think on that. Give your thought process that okay, if this kind of question comes, this question is not out of the world, this question is from the very very basic planning poker event. So think on that, and then put yourself in that scenario, and then go and explain to the interviewer. Fine. To address this particular case, that when consensus are not reached, there are 2 types of remedy. One is the long-term remedy, and the other is short-term remedy. Short-term remedy is on the field itself. You are on the field. You are in the you know almost zero location, and you have to do something. There is one option, and of course that is short-term. That is momentary, but that will not help address the core issues. Okay, what are the core issues? I'll tell. So the long-term remedy will address the grassroots. So I'll start from the long-term remedy. That team is not team is not able to reach to a consensus in a planning poker event. It happened discreetly. Fine, you can apply your short-term remedial actions. But if it is a recurring event and you are not able to address it, and it is happening quite predominantly, then you have to think on that, and eyebrows are raised. So you have to get yourself involved and do these things. So what will you do now? Let the team involved early enough in the process. Okay, now you can say the project has gone quite a far. We have spent 5 6 sprints or 8 sprints, but still, as because it is a loop, it is all empiricism. We all go back to the starting point. We all go back to the square one. So there is always an early part of the process, because that is a starting point. So for example, what is the early part of the process? Let the team get involved jointly, creating user stories with the product owner. So once the team gets involved from the very early phase or the product discovery phase at an early stage, so this kind of predicament will not raise. So predicament means not reaching a consensus. It is a predicament. Okay. So, and it is embarrassing as well. Okay. That the team is not able to reach a consensus after the planning poker on the story point estimation. So now You are addressing the grassroots, you are letting the team involved with the product owner from the product discovery phase. Then the team will, of course, know the nuances part, the nitty-gritties of the product, the differences, the technologies, the uncertainties, the complexities, everything that team will have, and they'll appraise themselves on the very early stage. So estimating during the sprint review or any time will not be a big Herculean task, and they can have a very unanimous discussion. Okay, so now suppose the project has gone little far, the product discovery phase has gone, has almost, you have crossed past. So what will you do? But still the product owner is writing stories, or he has written stories. Okay, so go back to the product owner and have collaborative sessions with the product owner, that what was the context, what was the scenario when or that particular story or those stories were written. So I think it is team's initiative so to get involved with the product owner. Okay. So I have seen the team does not talk to the product owner other than the review or the planning or a little bit of the backlog refinement. The product owner and the team have to work hand in hand. So all the user stories are created in a, say if suppose all the user stories are created in a collaborative effort between the product owner and the Scrum team. So here in this case, when I said collaborative effort between the product owner and the Scrum team, in this case, a shared understanding and a joint ownership is the goal. Because sometimes I've seen this coming out of my experience that the team thinks the stories are only product owner or the BS responsibility. No. Being a Scrum Master, I always ensure the stories are also the team's responsibility. So if there is a collaborative effort between the product owner and the Scrum team in writing the stories, then a shared understanding will be there and a joint ownership will be always there. This is one part. This is one way. It's a point one of long-term remedies. Second, the product backlog refinement process is well understood and followed by the team and the product owner. Now, Scrum Guide does not talk about the product backlog refinement process, but we are talking about agility. So again, go back to your 12 principles. Okay, I will not tell which principle will indicate towards product backlog refinement, but definitely product backlog refinement is a mandatory ceremony today in today's fast changing complex world. Okay, so, but the core essence of product backlog refinement is should be understood by the team and the product owner. What does happen in product backlog refinement? So, I authored about the product backlog event because when and how you are doing the planning poker is important. So, I'll not go down to product backlog refinement and explain. You all know that. Okay. I uttered the term product backlog refinement because it is important when and how are you doing the planning poker. That is important to consider. Conduct a planning poker session inside the refinement event and ensure that the right amount of discussion happens while estimating. We think that the nobody has given any theory that the planning poker can only happen in the sprint planning. You can have a sprint planning poker in the sprint planning, but if you know you if you are a thorough scrum master, you can have a always you can sense that how much strong grip the team has on the stories. Okay, so if you are a little bit skeptical on that, conduct a planning poker inside the refinement event so that the right amount of the correct discussion happens. Now the discussion, it is very important what you should discuss. Agile is a, see, that this is the beauty of Agile. This is the beauty of Scrum. The discussion during the planning poker must contain three things. First, expert opinion. That means during the discussion for the planning poker, You are having a huge amount of discussions on huge amount of topics, but I'm talking about the discussion intended towards planning poker must contain these three things. First is expert opinion. What does it mean? It means that inside a team there must be an expert, there must be a experienced person, there must be a say uh, who has having a good knowledge in the domain and the subject matter. There must be a semi. I'm not talking about a complete stalwart, but at least. So that expert inside the team should rely on his or her intuition or gut feel and should provide an estimate. Then okay, say I'm an expert of say I did some banking projects, I did some retail banking project, and I created some APIs, and I have uh, created some APIs which has got and handshake with some cryptographic teams, and they have done something. So I'm in that kind of project. I'm working for say loans, or I'm working for mortgage. I'm just giving an example. So I'm working for say cards, or I'm working for say settlements, and all of a sudden working on API comes. So I have some expertise. I don't have to be a complete guru in that, but I have some expertise. Okay, and I will give my estimate based on my intuition or gut feel that how that particular story will be developed, and I will say it is 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 as some number. Okay, so this is the first part of the discussion, or one particular share of the discussion. Second is analogy. What does it mean? Here the rest of the teams, or the entire team, compare that particular story with other previous estimated story, and it is very important. It is very, very important. I am sure that there should be some kind of similarity, there should be some kind of duplication, there should be some kind of repeated work inside a story. So they will draw it out, and they will figure it out that okay, this is the part which is common. So they will almost segregate the commonality, and also segregate the new part, or the uncertain part, or the say knowledge part. So the if the analogy part in the discussion happens, so then some kind of story points gets elapsed or popped up. So what happens that okay, this much of the uncertainties here, this much of dependencies are here, this much of repeat workers here. So let us give it a 6, or let us give it a 5, or let us give it a 7. Okay, so they can almost quantify the amount of uncertainty just for the sake of estimation. Third is disaggregation. People don't do it. People do it for the sake of task creation in the Azure DevOps or Jira. But you have to do it in your discussion. That is, it refers to splitting the story into smaller, easier to estimate pieces. So what happens that when you say that okay, this story has this many parts, this is the data part, this is the UI part, and this is the say annotation part, or whatever. I'm just giving an example, and then this will take this time. If this disaggregation happens in a thorough manner, estimation automatically comes out. So make sure that whenever you do, as I said, when and how you are doing your planning poker, you teach your team to create a discussion, or to have a discussion which should be comprised of these three things. Here, the Scrum Master's role is pivotal. Now, how will you train? How will you teach? It's up to you. Okay, there is no, I cannot spoon feed, or there is no, clear cut theory. Okay, uh, it depends on your own leadership style. Okay, how will you tell them? Okay, so everybody has their own leadership style, and I have nothing to say to it. Everybody should have their own ways of taking it. So here the Scrum Master role is pivotal. This is the second part, that is for the long-term remedy. Third is the team must not forget the goal of planning. The goal of planning and the essence of planning. The teams forget it. The teams, they just think something else. The goal of planning is not to predict the order of features or their exact completion dates. I'm again saying the goal of planning is not to predict the order features of their exact completion dates or the time required to complete that. Instead, the team assigns a point value to each user story to know how big is it, so that they can have a relative idea that okay, this is bigger, this is smaller, this is medium or something like that, which will let the team compare stories with each other. So when they almost give an estimation to the size of the work, there are other mathematics which will derive the time of completion. That is something else. We are not discussing the release planning here. We are only discussing the planning poker. So the essence of planning poker, that is story point estimation, is just to estimate how big the work is. The focus on the relative size of features rather than the exact amount of time it will take to develop them. So what happens that always the team thinks that if I say a number, my scrum master will calibrate to some time and will ask me or will sit on my head that okay, you have given 3, why did not you finish in that calibrated time? This is a common human psychology and this happens. Don't calibrate your story point into any of the work hours. Okay, I have discussed in very detail the estimation about story points and about man hours, but don't calibrate. If you have something, you have it that in a clear-cut manner. So if you practically think, the Scrum teams plan together with a conviction to reach an agreement. Conviction to reach an agreement. If the conviction is missing, they will not reach an agreement. They will not reach a consensus. So the conviction should be there. So what the Scrum Master will do? The Scrum Master will bring in that conviction to reach an agreement. Allow for certain amount of uncertainty in the end, and they will always reach a consensus if they have a conviction. So how will you bring the conviction? When you coach about the purpose of planning, as I explained, when you make them involved from the very product discovery phase or early stage when the stories are written, or let them go and do a retro analysis, not in the retrospective, collaborative sessions, that okay, when you wrote the stories, what was the context? Discussion with the product owner. And the final point, that which is of course a corollary of goal of planning, as I explained, that planning is not to predict that what is the time to develop, time to be taken to develop. So teach the team and you also as a Scrum Master, that is to separate estimating from committing. Estimating is different, committing is different. A fundamental and common problem in many organizations is that estimates and commitments are considered equivalent. I can give n number of examples, n number of discussions happens, but estimation is a different word, a different noun, different word. Commitment is something different. These both have different dictionary meanings, and these both have different essence in Agile or Scrum. So please separate estimating from committing. If the mindset remains within the team that the consensus which we will be deriving will be translated into our commitment to complete something, then they will be hesitant to reach an agreement. Okay, because they know that if I miss this commitment, somebody will come and sit on my head, because that is the common practice of our managers to sit on the head. Hey, why you did not do this? So coaching the managers is a different thing, but at least as a Scrum Master, you teach your team that don't think that whatever you are estimating to reach a relative size of the feature, to compare things, to at least know how big is the size. So it has got its own mathematics. We will reach a velocity. We will think, okay, recurringly we'll take velocity, then we'll do a release planning, etc., will be done. Okay, you teach them. But when you are talking about planning poker, if the team is thorough about the goal of planning and the essence of planning, they know what is estimation, what is commitment, then they will always reach a consensus. So it is all because I'm going back to the question that okay, why the team is not reaching a consensus. It's not intentional. It is all psychological, right? Always 99% it is psychological. And the psychology is just because of the hesitancy to reach an agreement, because that will be say translated that okay, the team has committed this, and then there will be have some sessions, they have something else, right? Okay, so I'm addressing that how will the team reach to a consensus. So these are all the long-term remedies which I told the Scrum Masters to do so that these kind of predicaments will not arise. Now, the short-term remedy. You are into a planning poker, you see that they are not at all coming down to a consensus. So what will you do? That if consensus is not reached after the agreed upon time, because we are all into time box events. Every event is time boxed. So if consensus is not reached after the agreed upon time, the team will have to come up with a method of coming to a decision. Okay. So it's like you are having the, you know, uh, in football we have penalties. Okay, the same thing. You cannot afford a draw. So an example would be to always go with the highest value with consensus when consensus is not reached. Highest value estimated to the stories, which is of course the part of the expert opinion. So it shows that the team member who estimated the highest point might know some complexity to the future feature that the rest of team is not able to figure it out. So this would allow for a conservative estimation, which is good. Okay, conservative estimations are always good. If the estimate is high and the user story will be implemented ahead of the schedule, which is preferable to the alternative of the late delivery. Of course, alternative of the late delivery. You did it early. Okay. So another option is to agree that the team member with the most knowledge of the application will break a stalemate and make the final decision. That also comes from the expert opinion. Some team members that feel they don't have enough information could be allowed to abstain from voting. Only the knowledgeable people will say, okay, no, this is the story points I'm telling you. You guys don't know, then please, abstain from voting. We'll go ahead and consider these story points. So these are the two methods. Either you take the highest or you take the opinions of the uh, say most knowledgeable people. So that at least you can close that planning poker and reach a consensus. So these are the short-term remedial. And I think, but still, I have seen that interviewers asked, but suppose still the team is not reaching, still there, then it is high time you take down the team to a classroom and coach them. Yes, it is important that you should almost teach them and then ultimately coach them. First, teach them that this is what should be happening. Then you just do your short-term remedies and take the team uh, to the classroom and teach them. Yeah, over to you, sir. Sunil?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Thank you, Nilaap. Okay, so great session. Lot of learning, lot of new concepts, in-depth concepts, I would say, Nilaap. And the way you have explained, I really like the way you have, explained each and every word and detail and great stuff, Nilaap. Wonderful session, I would say. And I'm sure that whoever is going to watch this session, definitely they will learn a lot of new things. The way you have described is phenomenal, Nilaap. So thanks again for your time and sharing your wealth of information with all of our viewers, Nilaap. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, see, it's the pleasure is mine because uh, when these questions are coming up, even I'm going back to my project days. Okay, whichever project I've done, and then some sessions, all my memory lanes, get lighted, and I bring those data and tell. So that is good for me, and I'm still a scrum master and also appearing interviews. Okay, or will be appearing interviews. Currently not, but so this is kind of a exercise for me. Okay, um, so that is why uh, my gratitude to you, I think I cannot fathom it out. So it's huge. Okay.
Or okay.
Okay.
Thank,
So I
thanks.
can
Thanks a
close
lot,
the
Nilaap.
session.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Bye.